My name is Monica Gleeberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. In today's podcast, we have Harry Hamlin, who's been seen on shows like Shameless, Mad Men, Glee, and most recently, Lifetime's original limited series, Flowers in the Attic: The Origin. Today, Harry joined us to talk not only about his experience in Flowers in the Attic: The Origin, but also to talk about his career, upcoming projects, and some of the movies that he's most famous for. So here is Harry Hamlin. I have to start off. I'm so excited. Obviously, I know you as Harry Hamlin because of Lisa Rinna. She talks about you all the time. So I just wanted to start off like just right away. Is it funny that she talks about you so much? Like every time I talk to her or interview her, we talk about you and how much she loves you. And I love it because you guys have been married for so long. So I just wanted to kind of bring it up. And how is it for you hearing her talk so much about how much she loves you and that you guys have been together for so long?
Well, yeah, it's kind of a lock at this point, I would say. We do love each other. I mean, it is, and we have since we first met. So, and I have never looked at another person romantically since I met her, and I'm pretty sure she hasn't either. Out there in the sort of zeitgeist, I'm gay. And I also have an affair with somebody in Canada on a regular basis. And I think Julia Phillips and I have been having it off for years and years. I mean, this is something that is just circulates around in that strange social media universe. And
That's what happens when you're good looking, because you're a very good looking man. That's why.
well, thank you for that. Yeah, so Lisa and I laugh about that all the time. I mean, something new comes up every week, so I'm having it off with somebody or somebody else. And there was a thing that happened, I think in Amsterdam when, she got upset when one of the cast members accused me of something, but not anything specific. And, I think we ended up, there was a hashtag that was like, what did Harry do or something like that. And so I was having it off with my 9-year-old Rottweiler, Lola. I figured that would be the best thing for me to come out with. So, but no, we have a very special relationship. And I think the thing that's so great about it is that we give each other all the rope we need. And we let each other do whatever we want. And what we want to do is hang out. So that's what it comes down to.
Well, I love the two of you together. And yeah, I think that happens anytime I interview someone. There's always crazy rumors and crazy stories, and it's just ridiculous. And I'm glad that you guys have like a fun way of kind of handling it. I love the love that you guys have for each other. So I had to bring it up. And it was so cute because when I tweeted out that I was talking to you, of course, right away, I got a little love from Rinna. So I was like, oh, I got to tell Harry when I talk to him.
Oh, good.
But let's get started. So you've been in, I mean, some of the biggest shows of all time, some of the biggest movies of all time. What brought you to Flowers in the Attic: The Origin? Because you were so good in it. And I know, like, yes, you're not in every single episode and every scene, but you like take the stage. The second you came in, I was just like enthralled with your character. And so I want to know just how originally you got involved in the project.
During the time when the original Flowers in the Attic was a huge hit, I was working, and I was not of a generation that actually like got into that. So I never read any of the original books, and I didn't even know the story at all. Had I known how twisted and messed up and completely like off the charts weird the thing is, I probably would have read it back in the day, but I was not aware of that. So when I saw this script and I saw how twisted and messed up it was, I was immediately attracted to it. Why I'm attracted to such things will remain a secret. But nevertheless, I liked the character, and I liked the fact that we were shooting it in Romania. I'd always wanted to go to Eastern Europe and check that out. And I loved the cast. I loved that the people who were, I checked out. I didn't know Max's work, and I I was unaware of, some of the work of the other cast members. But once I checked into it, I saw that these guys were on fire. They were great actors. And Jemima particularly, because most of my scenes are with her. And she really goes deep in this. And I don't know, I guess you've seen at least one episode of it.
I saw all of it.
Seen all of it. I've only
It's
seen
so
the first one, but I immediately stood up after, in the final scene, and I said, "Oh my God." I turned to the producer and I said, "This is a gigantic hit. This is amazing." Because the way that first episode ends, you go, "Oh my God." So yeah, it's so you've seen the whole thing. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. Literally, the episode ended, and I went, no, and I was interviewing the entire cast, so I'm like, I need to know what happens. I need to know. So they were so nice and sent it over to me. They said it's not ready yet, but if you want to look at it, and I was like, okay, great. So it's
I actually
so
have
good.
them. I was sent links to them by the head of Lifetime, but I'm working so much right now that I haven't had a chance to see them. We've been working, long days on set.
Well, what drew you? So I find it very interesting. So you play Mr. Winfield, and what's interesting is that he's very progressive, which I was surprised for the origin story because of how twisted and how crazy the story kind of goes. How do you justify like his mentality in that time period to be that progressive and to let his daughter work and things that were not normal, considered normal, quote, at that time period?
Well, I mean, certainly he is progressive for that time period. I think because he didn't have a son, and I think he basically substituted her for his son and allowed himself to allow her to be a businesswoman. And but he still wants her to get married. He still wants her to have a family and carry on the bloodline. But it was unfortunate that he dies in the first episode. I was kind of sad about that, but it was just enough to go in during COVID, quarantine for a while, and then to do the part, which was fun. It was a blast to do.
Yeah, I was really sad too because when they show him, he's so nice and he's so caring and he's so loving. And so I think it's such a great job of the origin because you don't know how, when you read Flowers in the Attic, how did that even happen? And how does it start? And how do you get to that point? So to see kind of the beginnings of how that happens in the first episode, right away, you love Jemima's character. And her dad is so sweet and so nice. So it's so interesting that she falls mistakenly for a guy that's not as nice. So I would have liked to see him kind of be alive and what his take would have been. And maybe like you could have helped her out of that situation. Because I just feel like he wouldn't have been happy with what she kind of ended up with.
Certainly would not have been happy with that. No. But then what happens and how all the transitions that take place in her character and her personality over time. I mean, it's a 180. So it's a very interesting character arc for her.
So are you excited for for fans to see this? Because this is very different again. And it's very distinguished character, a very loving character and someone that, like I said, is very progressive. And you're kind of like the standout of the show because a lot of the other ideals are very within the time. So for you, is there anything that you're excited for people to see you in this particular show because of all the differences? Again, I know you're not in it the whole time. I wish you were, but.
Well, the relationship between me and Jemima, me and my daughter, that's what I kind of hinged the whole thing. I have two daughters. And so that relationship, father-daughter relationship, was one of the main reasons why I took the part, to let her go neither of my daughters have married, and I've not walked them down the aisle yet. But the idea of, letting your daughter go and fly off into another life, that I wanted to explore emotionally. And it worked out. I mean, I think we had that one scene together when I kind of sent her off, and we both were in tears during that scene. I'm not sure that they used the takes where we were both, crying in the scene, but it was very emotional for both of us in that. So I was very pleased the way that turned out, in fact.
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite scenes in the first episode because when she gets in kind of like the carriage to leave, your character standing outside and staring, and you could just feel it. Like you're like, oh, he's like looking at her, kind of being taken away. And what that must feel like, for a father, especially a father that was so attached to his daughter and was working with his daughter and relied on his daughter, and for her to kind of just go off, you
And
know?
in my case, when my daughters were born, I said to Lisa that I was not going to leave town. I said, I won't leave town until we have an empty nest. And that was, 20 some odd years ago. And at that very moment, the whole business left LA. I thought, well, I'll work, I can work during the days and put the kids to bed. But, really almost all of the business left LA and went to Louisiana, where I am now, went to New York, went to Toronto and Vancouver and Sydney, Australia. And so I was left with a very slim pickings in LA, which meant that I really took 20 years off. But I was able to put my kids to bed every night and, cook them dinners and get them to school in the morning. And I think that was much more important for me to do than to do a lot of movies and to work a lot, because they're very well adjusted now and they're really successful in their lives. So that, given that relationship I had with my daughters, I wanted to sort of explore how I would translate my emotional sensation toward my daughters to this character in the piece.
Yeah, and that's funny too, because I think everything happens for a reason. And you staying home and doing that, then coming out to work, I feel like your work was like next level after they had gotten older, because some of the parts that you had chosen, maybe you wouldn't have taken, who knows, right? Like before you had the
Yeah.
kid. So, I mean, I think a lot of this, your career just like skyrocketed. I mean, like you came out and started doing stuff, and Mad Men came out and like all of these shows, and you were just fantastic in that. So it's so
One
nice
of the
that you
things
were able to be home.
I credit that with, that I've never left acting class. So one of the things I was able to do during that period was to continue to study and to continue to stretch and go to the Beverly Hills Playhouse, which was my home in LA for acting classes. And I think that, that really helped. So when I did start working again, I had that in my back pocket.
And then, so obviously, yes, I'm obsessed with Flowers in the Attic, the origin. I'm super excited for everyone to see you in it. But you are constantly working. So then you went straight from that into, if I'm not mistaken, Unsinkable, which is now
Yeah.
I think they're editing all of that. So what can you kind of tease about that?
It's an audio movie, which I've never heard of such a thing before, but I've heard some of it, and it's remarkable the way they're able to it's almost like a radio play, but it's not, because it's much bigger. The audio is much better. It's just something you listen to, and you allow your imagination to take you visually into the story. And I've done a few other things since as well. You probably know them better than I do.
Yes. So, well, I was gonna say, is there anything that you can hint about Abel? Because he's the one that you're doing the voiceover for Unsinkable. Is there anything you could tell us about like Abel Seaman Mortimer?
I'm gonna pass on that and let the
Okay,
people,
we have to keep it
because
secret.
because he's not American, put it that way.
Okay.
It's not an American character. That was also interesting to do.
Okay, well that's fun. I'm excited. And then you did or you're currently doing 80 for Brady. Is that
Finished
right
80
now?
for Ready for
Oh,
a
okay,
couple
that's done.
of months ago. Yeah, with Sally Field and Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, Rita Moreno at age 90, and Tom Brady. So yeah, and Billy
So
Porter. So it's an amazing cast.
So I know you probably can't say much about the actual filming, but what is that like? Were you like, I would freak out walking on set with all of those people. I mean, I would freak out walking on set if I had to act with you, but I mean, that's quite a cast. So
Well,
what was
that's
that
true.
like?
And they were extremely gracious and welcomed me with open arms. So made me feel very comfortable. And all I can say is that these are major pros. Um, I didn't work with Tom Brady. He's a pro of his own in his own right. Um, but he came in kind of at the end of filming and worked with the girls. So, but that's going to be a great. I signed on to do that movie a week before he came out of retirement. And I when I signed on, I said, oh, darn, if only he was still playing, this would be a huge hit, and then bam, he came out of retirement. So I have great faith in this film.
And then you're now working on the Anne Rice's, right? Anne Rice's Mayfair Witches. That's what you're doing now in New Orleans.
Because AMC just left the sort of Walking Dead universe behind, and they've now decided to move into the Anne Rice universe as one of their places they're going to go. So they're doing Interview with the Vampire as a limited series. They're also doing Mayfair Witches as a limited series. Yeah, and it's this is the most fun I've had working on anything since my very first film, Movie back in 1977. So,
really? Why is that? Is it because of where it's being filmed?
Because the character is just delicious. So, yeah, because I'm really a character actor. I'm in a leading man's body. So, but I've always, preferred to play characters. And this guy is just, I had a lot of fun with Jim Cutler in Mad Men, and a lot of fun with the character I did in Shameless. But this guy is just off the charts. So yeah.
It's Cortland, right? So he's like next level.
Cortland, yeah.
So that's exciting. How is it filming in New Orleans? Because every time I talk to an actor that films there, they just rave about the city. How is it filming there?
I haven't had a chance to really see the city that much because we've been working and it's been really hot. All I can say is it's really hot in New Orleans. So they're taking good care of us. But yeah, I mean, it's I'm having a blast with it. And then on Thursday, if I have to shoot in the morning on Thursday, but I'm hoping to catch a flight to LA to make it out in time for the Q&A session after the 40th anniversary screening of Making Love, which is taking place at the Academy Museum. And Bill Kramer, who runs the Academy, is going to moderate. And, I'm really proud of having done that movie back in 1982, which was groundbreaking for its time. And it's the 40th anniversary and the Academy is honoring it. So I'm just really pleased about that.
I've been reading about this announcement. People are so excited. I mean, Making Love was beyond groundbreaking. I mean, it was unprecedented, basically. I mean, relatively, the only other movie I could think of around that time that kind of touched on topics like that was like the Philadelphia Story, maybe like around, but I think that was even maybe later. So yeah. So I mean, like that was such a groundbreaking film. So what is that going to be like with all of you guys coming back? I'm very excited the Academy's recognizing it. I wish they recognized it more when it originally came out, but I'm happy that you guys are doing a whole panel together. And most of the cast is coming, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think so. I don't think they've been able to reach Michael on Keene or Kate.
Okay.
So I think I may be the only cast member who's going to be there. Yeah, I'm really proud of that movie. And here's another movie where people come up to me almost on a weekly basis and thank me for having made that movie. And every time they do, I burst into tears. I can't help it. It's like, because, to have done a film that affected so many people and moved so many people it's really special. I mean, it's not often that actors get a chance to have that kind of an impact. So.
Yeah. And that movie's so great too, because you relate to it on a multitude of levels. So you don't even have to have that sexual orientation or worry about, like, it could be various things that touch you. I've seen that movie. I got emotional watching that movie and I connected to the characters in different ways. So there's so many things that you can connect to in that storyline. And that movie to me is such a masterpiece. It's beautiful. There's not a single thing that's wrong with that movie. I mean, it's just perfect. And you're so great.
The only thing wrong with it is that it was ahead of its time by about 10 years.
Yeah.
That's all. Every single movie star in Hollywood was offered the role that I played, and they all turned it down. And they all turned it down for one reason, and that's because they thought it would damage their career. And they were not wrong, because it's been 40 years since I made a studio film. Like this movie I made with Jane Fonda, it's the first studio film I've done in 40 years. So,
and do you think that is because of that? Because 100%. Of the
100%.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So the industry is still I mean, I know there's a lot of issues with the industry, but they're still catching up to that being like, that kind of content, obviously.
Well, in those days, in the early 80s, when we made the film, a gay actor would never have touched that role with a 10-foot pole because they would have been outed, and
Right.
the only way to do it was to have straight actors doing it. And this now it's flipped 180 now. A straight actor could not play that role today, would have to be a gay actor or they'd be canceled. So it's kind of an interesting twist that's happened, in that 40-year period. It didn't damage my career, it changed it. It changed it from me being a feature film actor working for studios to being working in television and some of the best television that's ever been made. So I'm not complaining at all.
And why, like, and I'm just curious, I guess, when that role came out and if it was offered to so many people, what made it something that you wanted to play? When that came across your desk, why was that so important to portray that and do it in such an honest way? Because the film is just so beautiful.
Well, at the time, a lot of movies were being made that were really stupid. The studios were making movies about vampire bats invading towns, and it was an odd time in motion picture history. And there were big blockbusters being made as well, but the kind of sort of smaller movies were just weird. And I saw this movie and I said, this is about something real that's happening in our society, but nobody wants to talk about it. And nobody wants to get into this. And I said, I'm going to get into it. Come hell or high water, I'm going to get into this. And so that's why I took it.
And it is I think it's one of the biggest, most influential films, probably, like when you look at your career in terms of making an impact. And so, I mean, it was such a great decision. And who knew that it was going to blow up to be such a big thing. And so many people are still talking about it. I hear about it all the time. And even when I brought up that I was going to talk to you, that was one of the first movies that came up. And people said, oh my God, that movie changed my life when I saw that. And I was like, I got to bring it up. And then I saw that the Academy was recognizing you guys. So, I mean, I just think it's fantastic. Nice to have a 180 for that.
No, it's true. It's been a 40-year hiatus, but it was filled up with so many other wonderful things, not the least of which was, raising my kids, but I also started an energy company and started some clothing businesses, and it's kind of diversified a little bit. So climate change has been a big thing in my life, and I'm hoping to make an impact on that with Tae Technologies, the company that I founded in 1998.
So what do you do with your company, so we could let people know in case they're not aware of it?
Tae Technologies is the biggest privately funded fusion energy company in the world. So I got into fusion back in 1980. I found out about nuclear fusion, which is another way to derive energy from matter, and using sort of E equals MC squared. And just over the years, I began to shepherd this technology. And then in 1998, out of desperation, a small group of us formed a company that now is a huge enterprise. We're partnering with Google, and Jeffrey Immelt, who ran General Electric, is on our board. The former Secretary of Energy, Ernie Moniz, is on our board. And we have a huge enterprise going on, and raised about $1 billion so far. And we're hopefully going to bring to the world a new way to make electricity that is absolutely 100% pollution-free and non-radioactive, and we'll be able to make electricity for the next few 100,000 years without any CO2 or pollution or anything like that. That's the goal.
Yeah, and it's relatively, I did some research on it. It's relatively endless too, like because of the process. So it's not like you're taking resources from the earth. You're not taking anything that you really need in terms of harming any of like the earth or the land or anything like that. It's all just scientific stuff that you're able to put together. And once they hit, like, the friction is what causes the electricity and all. Like, I will get all scientifically nerdy on you, but I did do the research on it, and it's fascinating. Good. And it's very interesting, and it really uses up almost basically nothing. I mean, I don't know why we haven't used it earlier.
The reason we haven't done it is because it's extremely difficult to do. The group of scientists that have been gathered around this project and Google as well. And they, among all the people who are out there trying to make this happen, I think have the best shot at doing it because they're brilliant. And of course, Google has, unlimited resources and the ability to apply their artificial intelligence to the project.
Well, that's fantastic. I don't know how you do all this stuff. You're because I feel like you're so busy and you're always working and you just always have something going on. And everything you put out is good. Everything. Like I've never seen a single thing where I was like, oh, he was all like everything is good. I don't know how you do it and how you
Now
manage
you're
all of
going
it.
to have to taste my sauce.
Well, okay. So I was gonna ask you about it. I'm not gonna lie. I was going to ask you the bolognese sauce. I've heard about this for like years about this sauce. So, what is it about this sauce? I hear about it from other people that I've interviewed that have met you and know you. I've heard it from obviously the Housewives. I hear about this sauce. What is in this sauce that you make?
It's just really good, you know. And I'm not saying that because I'm just saying because from my taste buds, it's good. I like it, and
Everybody likes it. Everybody. I hear about
well,
it all the time.
well, it's one of those things that it's a recipe that I came up. Actually, Ursula Andress, who's the mother of my son Dimitri, sort of taught me the beginnings of the recipe when I lived with her in Rome back in 1980. But then I embellished it somewhat over the years and have come up with what I think is the absolute perfect bolognese sauce. What I'd like to do is do a Paul Newman with it somehow,
Hey, you should bottle it.
yeah, and give all the profits to charity kind of thing. It's difficult to do that. I mean, I've explored it, and it's not easy to get approvals for stuff like that. But I'm going to try to do it.
Well, I would love that. And somehow I have to get some of it because I've heard about it for years. So I have to try it because I've heard so
Who
many
knew,
things.
right?
So
Bolognese sauce. Who knew?
who knew you'd be so famous with your sauce? But literally everybody talks about it. I'm gonna have I'll have to bother you later and have you mail me some or something. FedEx me a little bottle of it so I can try
Well,
it.
I got some to Andy Cohen I don't know. I haven't heard whether he tried it or not yet, but he has a bottle of it.
I'll bother you. I have to get it. I'll even pay for it. I have to try it. I've heard nothing but great things.
All right.
And I guess just like one of my like kind of last questions, another audience that has fallen in love with you, Real Housewives, right? Because we don't get to see that many husbands that much. Over the years, they've kind of added the husbands in, which have been nice because it's part of your family and you're getting recorded. And why not show the whole family? We've seen your daughters who are beautiful and super successful. And so you have a whole new audience of people that are in love with you from the show. I think you're one of the most loved husbands, of the Housewives. So is that weird? Because obviously you didn't sign up to do a reality show. So is that weird that you have like a new fan base and a lot of them are younger and just very in love with you?
Yeah, I'm happy about that. It's a new demographic for me entirely. And I'm it's surprising and kind of thrilling at the same time. But now that I'm on a reality show, I can't join the Soho House because they won't take anybody who's in a reality show. So
Yep.
that's all right. I'm not a club guy anyway. But you know, I'm thrilled by it, put it that way. And I just hope I don't step on myself in such a way that I alienate that audience, because I'm happy to be, accepted by them.
No, everybody, we love you. I mean, I watched it and covered it since day one. And the second Lisa Rinna was like, and I'm married to Harry Hamlin. And and then they introed you. I mean, it was just great because you're so authentic and you're so real and you're so loving, and the gardening and all the cute stuff where people, I think, get an idea of what a quote celebrity lives like and how they must be and how they must act. I get to see people in their real element because I'm interviewing them and whatnot, but a lot of people don't. So to see you, this huge actor that people look up to and have seen you in all these movies and television shows, be so authentic and just normal, I think brings in an audience. And all of my friends, I have friends that are younger, I'm 35. I have friends that are 20 that watch the show that, I mean, are like literally obsessed with you. They think you're like the best thing ever. And we talk about you all the time. We go, I wonder if he's in this episode. And we were so happy. It's very late, belated happy birthday. But we loved that episode that was focused on you. We were like, yay, like a Harry Hamlin episode. We were very excited. So it's just, I think it's just how you come off, because you're just so natural and very different than Rinna too, which is funny to see you guys together. My parents are very different. So I love that kind of
we're complete opposites in fact. So I mean, in every respect, we're complete opposites. So, but it seems to work, right? So
yeah, my parents could not be more opposite. And so I enjoy watching the two of you together too, because you guys, the relationship of how you are and the joking and very much like my parents. So I always go like, oh, like, see, that's what you need. You need someone that's so in love for that many years and all of that kind of stuff. And I just love how, you know, she always says like how hot you are and how much she's in love with you. And but that's what you want. And so watching it, it's so endearing. And I think that's what causes so many people to love you.
And I don't follow her in her Instagram. I mean, I do follow her, but I never look at it. I haven't looked at it in months. And I learned that lesson when she used to do Howard Stern's show years ago. And I never listened to it, but my friend said, whatever you do, don't listen to Howard Stern when he interviews Lisa. So I learned, okay, I'm not gonna go there. So I let her do her thing on Instagram or whatever. And every once in a while, someone will say, you know what Lisa said about you today. And I go, wow, what now?
Well, but that's what is so beautiful about the two of you, because and I love her too, because she's so open and so honest. And I'm very much like that. And I'll gush with someone like, you know, I'm super excited to talk to you and I'll gush with you. And I feel like a lot of journalists, they won't do that, or they won't do their research. I'm obsessed. I'll read everything and I just want to do my work and be prepared. And I feel like she's so outgoing. She's so prepared. She's so on top of her stuff. So I just love her. And it's just so funny because she's so outgoing. And then you're like a little more reserved and a little more quiet, but it just works. The two of you just work. And it's so nice. I'm so sorry we went over time. I could talk to you for an hour about every project you've ever done, because I'm just obsessed with the way that you act, the way you approach things, the characters you pick, how you do certain things. I mean, I would even get nitpicky on even like the way of like how the camera, how you're standing in certain scenes. It's just, I'm very enthralled with your career and I just find it so fascinating. I'm so happy that there's so many more projects coming out. Flowers in the Attic, The Origin. I wish you were in all of the episodes, but it didn't even matter. The parts that you were in, you totally took over. It's so good. I'm telling everybody I know to watch it.
Thank you so much, Monica. That means so much to me. It really does. And you know, like I said, I'm grateful that a 70-year-old dude can still work and still have, you know, a career at this point. And it looks like I'm just getting started. So, you know, news at 11.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the podcast with Harry Hamlin, where we discussed a lot of his career and, of course, his upcoming show that's currently airing on Lifetime on Saturdays, Flowers in the Attic, The Origin. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you're updated on all of our latest podcasts and YouTube videos.